Blitzers, it's Ronan. Welcome back to the channel. I want to talk today about the Caernavron. We have just had update 8.5, and the Caernavron, in my opinion, is now arguably the best heavy in the tier. I have played two games with the Caernavron. I'm currently averaging 3,900 damage. I'd never played this tank before, and the reason is I had the Action X, and the Action X was better. The Caernavron is now better, and I'm going to run through very quickly why. The armor is not changed, so the armor is going to be exactly the same. It has a great turret. The damage per minute is now, when it's all kitted up, set up the right way, 2,986, and I'll show you later why you should go ahead and use the rammer and max that out. 226 AP, 258 APCR, 42 HE, and the alpha, which was the change, is now 225 on the armor piercing and 190 on the AP. 190 used to be its AP pen or AP alpha, so you're now the alpha now for the APCR is the same as the alpha was for the armor piercing, which is crazy. They did nerf the gun a tiny bit, but its dispersion, when all kitted up, 0.281. Gun depression is still, of course, 10. Elevation's 18. It's not a slow tank. It's 34 forward, 12 reverse, power to weight of nearly 16. It is a good tank. Let me jump into the update that was recently made. This is from Blitzhanger, so it's probably wrong. I'm kidding. You can see a lot of tanks were updated. I think this is the most meaningful of the updates. The DPM is now 2657 if you are, like as I said, you're not fully kitted up, 225, 120, and you can see that all the difference. All that was changed on the tank was a slight nerf to the dispersion and a massive buff on the DPM. Now the Chieftain, I'll talk about the Chieftain as well. The Chieftain did also receive a buff, but look at the difference in DPM. It's 2347. The other thing that the tech tree Caernavron has, which now is different than the rest, is consumables. So it has what we call the crack consumables, where it has reactive armor and the improved engine power boost. I'm currently running actually the reactive power and the adrenaline. Lek pointed out to me a good point that when you're using this, there's two advantages. This decreases your damage by 20%, and this increases your loading speed by 20%. So you have a double impact there. That's a very fun. Everybody likes double impact. The other part of it is the enhanced sandbag armor. I really like running this on tier 8s because armor is good. Armor is what it is, and it just gives you more HP. So with this and the improved assembly, you are 1,960 HP. That's just a lot for a tier 8. That's a massive amount. The rest of them, I mean, you could certainly use enhanced gun laying. I like to supercharge it, even though it's got great velocity. Same thing with the vertical stabilizer. I think it's so good that its cannon is so tight. It doesn't matter. It really, really doesn't matter. So Lek was nice enough to ace it, and so did I. We both aced it today. I'm going to do Lek's replay first. I'm going to do a quick comparison, and then I'm going to do my replay. Both games are worth watching, so stick around. Lex and Faust, he is playing with Tanky Poo, one of his favorite tune partners, one of mine too. Tanky actually is playing the Shark T54E2. You can see the enemy team has got a 252U, a T28 Defender, which also got a nice buff, by the way. It is very, very strong. The T28 Defender may be broken. Definitely worth playing those tanks as well. The changes that were made, and I'll say this as Lek gets into position, the changes that were made recently really have changed the game. I think the Tiger 2, for example, went from a fast second line sort of sniper tank, which has always been a weird tank, to really a true fat, slow, stupid heavy with a bad gun. We went from one of the better guns to being a very mediocre gun. It still has lower alpha for a heavy, which is the same problem this Caernavron has. The Caernavron still suffers from a 225 alpha is low alpha. What the Caernavron has, though, you have 10 degrees of gun depression in a rock-solid turret that can get penned. I'll show you guys some stuff on that. It can get penned, but it's a phenomenal haul-down tank. I mean, you are going to be able to hold ridges like a son of a bitch with this thing. And you got 3,000 DPM in tier 8. You also, as I mentioned, almost 2,000 HP. And you got a terrific cannon. I mean, honestly, I don't think you can get a better heavy. Lek, surprisingly, is missing a couple of shots he should make, but there are the bounces. I just bounced 3,000 damage with this tank earlier playing this way. It's got a lot of advantages, and you're going to see Lek, this 301, which has a great gun, great accuracy, and good pen. I mean, he's struggling to do anything to this tank. And oh, by the way, he's out of HP. Lek's already taken 1,000 HP from him. He's down to 90. Look at the difference in HP. Lex got almost 2,000 HP versus a 1,200 on the 301. Now, you might say, well, you know, the gun pen is not great. It is a weakness that the APCR pen is about 250. But one, you remember APCR is a lot better than heat, and it slices through everything. And 258 pen with APCR should be enough for most positions. You're also reloading every 4.5 seconds. So my suggestion for you, if you got a shot you can't make, just change your position because you'll be able to find some, and you can work the angles. It's also got very refined dispersion. So again, just aim a smidge longer, and you're gonna be able to land those shots. Here's a side of a Tiger 2. I mean, that's, you know, that's with AP. There's no problem. He can shoot him anywhere. And oh, by the way, when you're shooting tracks, when you're shooting every 4.5 seconds, and if you stick around for my replay, you're going to see the advantage of that. This guy in the Tiger is unfortunately what a lot of KB4 and Tiger players. I will tell you, the Tiger got a HP buff. The Tiger now almost has 2,000 HP, and that's going to be a problem. Now watch what happens with the T28 Defender. He does get a nearly 500 roll on left, and he gets a second shot too, which is good because the T28 Defender, as we all know, but look what happens to him. He is getting shot by 2 tanks. But that's it. He's done. He was very fortunate to get those 2 shots in. And the DPM of this tank, I know it's got lower alpha, but if you play it right, and it can now brawl. What this tank reminds me of, honestly, it's the Black Prince prior to its nerf. Black Prince was nerfed about 2 or 3 updates ago, and it was broken as fuck beforehand. And this thing is broken now. It is so strong, and exactly how Lex is playing it. That 252U is going to have one hell of it with the dispersion of that cannon. It's going to have a hell of a shot landing when you're angled. There are spots where he can pen, but you're going to get lucky to get that in there. And that's the challenge, because this tank is a lot like the British tanks. They don't have invincible. It's like it's not a T-32 turret. T-32 obviously has a turret that you just almost can't pen. But this thing has armor that's just wonky, and it's going to require a lucky shot. Now Lex has 484, so usually 484 HP. He can take a shot if he should be able to take a shot from the 252U. But see the speed, people bitch about the speed of this thing. Look at that! Oh, he's going downhill. But look at that! He's at 4,000 damage! 4K, I mean, Jesus Christ! This thing's a beast. It's a fucking beast. Alright. Quick comparison here to, well done, Lek. I mean, that's literally everything. Brothers in Arms, Crucial, Steel Wall, High Caliber, Top Gun, made in 100K. I mean, that's very well done. Quick comparison here on Blitzstars of what I think are the competitors for top tank in the tier that's not a clipper. I'm not going to compare the Emil 1 because it's an autoloader and it's a different type of tank, all right? DPM, the Caernavron is saying 3,024. That is not correct. However, we'll assume that it's generally directionally, right? It's close to that. 226 alpha. You can see the difference between it and the Chieftain T95. 12% more DPM than the Chieftain. And if the 53 TP, which is the new Polish, is an excellent tank, the problem is the DPM difference is just so huge. You're giving all that up for an alpha difference of 420. Look at the gun difference. The aim time for the 53 TP, which by the way is brokenly awesome, is going to get nerfed. But look at the difference in dispersion. It's a massive dispersion difference. And the 53 TP is faster, but not massively so. Especially it's a 15.44 versus 15. It's the same. It's not a noticeable difference. The top speed is a difference, and then HP, it shows a 50-point difference. But as I mentioned, if you use the consumables the way I did, you're nearly at 2K with this tank. And the hull armor, the turret armor for the Caernavron is fantastic as well. So I think what you're faced with this tank is that it is going to be the best hull down tank there is. And if you don't believe me, let's watch another replay. Lek and I here are on Fort Despair, and we are, I'm going to just jump through here. We are going to take the AB caps. Now this game, you're going to see this team, our team, fold up like I don't know what you call it, a house of cards. They got a Centurion Dingo, RAC Dingo, in a very strong spot here. And I honestly, Lek told me I'd play this well, and I appreciated that, but to be honest, I didn't play this that well. What I was trying to do is get some shots on that. Now, I want you to, something that you probably knew, I knew and I forgot, is the sides of the turret of the Dingo as well as this tank. You see those little side things? That is not really a part of the tank. It's pure art, if you call it. So if somebody shoots you on those things, is trying to shoot them, and they show up that they're going to show up like they're pennable, they're not going to hit anything. So at this point, we've lost an idiot. That T-34-100 was actually in a good spot. He was just coming up there and shooting me in my side, which is my weak point. The sides and rear of the tank do not have good armor. I mean, it's not armored like a 252U or anything. You got to haul down it, right? And that's what you see me doing. Lek had a beautiful shot there, which cleared the dingo. I missed that shitty shot. At this point, it was 5-on-5. I figured this 34-100 needed to die, and I attacked it. It was actually not a particularly smart thing to do. We had a similar amount of HP, and I missed those shots. That was pretty pathetic, to be honest. I started playing better here, and you're going to see me once I kind of get a hold of this thing. This, by the way, was my first game of the tank, so I'm using that as an excuse. Once I get a hold of this thing, you just start bouncing. You're bouncing from your front, you're bouncing from your side. He so much reminds me of the Black Prince, and this guy is gone. Look at the reload. Adios. Now, unfortunately, that one-on-one caused Lek to be rushed by the Annihilator and the 53 TP, which is very bad. I was rushing to help. In my opinion, I should have backed up and waited. I could have prevented this, but that's okay. Annihilator, 650 HP. What are you thinking? He's not going to land 3 shots. He was shooting AP, I believe, too, which was stupid. And he landed 1 of the 3. And look how quickly he is dispatched. Gone. It is now. It was a 3-on-4. It is now on 3-on-3. This Saint Emile, I had 451 HP. He hit me for 380. I don't know whether he's using the top cannon. It looks like the top cannon. So he either, I think the alpha on that's 460. So he kind of just didn't get a high roll, I guess, and did not able to clear me. Now, I mentioned the tracking. Watch me track this guy. It's so easy. You're shooting every 4.5 seconds. He will not be able to fix that track. He just sat there and died. There's nothing he can do. And you see how quickly you can dispatch that player there. At this point, Lek mentioned, we actually have an AFK. Our Blaze is AFK, so it was a 6-on-7 to begin with, which is probably why this game felt so hard. This Drek does a nice job with a 53 TP of hitting him, and at this point, it is all she wrote. This tank just vomits out damage. It's a beauty of a tank. I want to show you a little bit about you're probably thinking, just okay, Ronan, you've convinced me this tank's good. Again, by the way, Top Gun, high caliber, steel wall, crucial, blah, 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 blah. Hell of a tank. Hell of a tank. I'm going to show you some replays now of why you should use the rammer. That is the Tiger II. Notice how Lek here pounds me actually with AP with a Tiger II. You can see that's partially right. That means that he may or may not pen. It's a little RNG dependent. But when you can get those shots in there with AP. And as we talked about, this tank has about 2200 DPM with APCR. So there is absolutely no reason. Watch when Lek switches it to APCR, how easy it is to pen the front, the upper plate of the Tiger II. You can also peel the gun mantling area there. And so there is lots of reasons why this tank is great. That's another one there. Use the rammer, use the 4.5 second reload. By the way, there is the turret of the Caernavron when you're looking at it with a Tiger II. Notice I just shot the ear. That's what I call the ears at the side of the turret. That is not an actual thing, as I mentioned earlier. You can see the plume of dust behind it. It is not a hitbox. It is going to confuse a lot of noobs and some decent players as well. Those are just a waste of a shell. If you see you shoot that, it actually doesn't even tell you that it's missed because it's not a hit. It just goes through, disappears. It's as though you missed the shot. So people will probably do that. You can pen this turret, as you can see me doing there, with AP, but that is a very, very long aim time without any wiggling, etc. The armor for this tank, this top tank, is quite strong. That hitbox is a very hard job with a fully calibrated tank from up close. Anyway, great tank. Strongly recommend you to buy it with credits, not with gold, and enjoy the shit out of it. Thanks for watching, everyone.